All right. So today we're going to be talking about how to find a job. So I want to start by asking you guys to turn to page 66 in your workbook. I'm just going to show you what that looks like really quickly here. So you can see here's page 66. We're going to be working on this page and page 67. So you can see there's places for you to write notes and to fill in the blanks, but we're going to start right up here, okay? So when you want to find a job, the first thing you want to do is look for a job that matches your interests, your values, and your skills. And you want to look for jobs with a work environment that you will enjoy. Think about what you want your future job to be and look for a job that will lead in this direction. So what do I mean by that? Well, think about the first job you ever got if you've had a job in the past. How did you choose that job? Why did you choose that job? Now, there might be a lot of reasons that you picked a job. I've asked this question to many students over the years. And some really common answers I've heard was, a friend got me the job, or I just walked around the mall and I found a place that was hiring, or I saw a now hiring sign somewhere like at a fast food restaurant and I decided to just apply and I got the job. And that's how a lot of people pick their jobs. It's just kind of what's open, what they see, what they hear about. What I want to challenge you to do is to think about what is your end-all be-all career goal and how can you pick a job that helps you get there. So one of my first jobs that I worked at was at a frozen yogurt shop, and I would help customers and I would make yogurt for them. And I actually really enjoyed the job. I am a cheerful person, so I liked greeting people and helping them. But it didn't really go towards my long-term career goal. Now, obviously, my long-term career goal ended up being as a college counselor, but I didn't always know that was going to happen. But I had a couple other jobs that kind of pointed me in the right direction. One of those jobs was being a camp counselor. As a camp counselor, I got to teach science at a science camp. So I got to teach lessons. See how that kind of correlates with what I'm doing now. I got to work with students who were homesick or worried or afraid of the dark or the mountains. We always had a group of, the way the camp worked is each week a group of 5th graders or 6th graders, like a whole class from a school, all 5th graders at an elementary school or all 6th graders at an elementary school, would come up the mountains and they would stay in cabins for a week. And I was a trail leader and a cabin leader, and I would help those students. Well, this gave me a lot of insight into what it's like working in education. And I learned that I didn't really want to work with kids, but I did want to work in education. Another job I had that kept pointing me in this direction later on was I got a job as a math tutor. And that job led to a job as being a substitute teacher for math. So I was actually the teacher. I was a long-term sub. I taught a whole summer school class by myself. Then that led me to, I got my master's degree, and while I was working on my master's degree, I did an internship at a community college, and then I got hired at a community college in an entry-level type position as an educational advisor. So you can see, starting with that job working at this science camp, I started to build my work history towards where I wanted my career to go. Now, what if instead of doing that, and that job I got, I did it between my community college and transferring to UC Irvine. What if instead I just worked at the frozen yogurt shop the whole time I was in college? I would graduate and I'd have a bachelor's degree, but all my experience would be in food service, which isn't the direction I wanted to go. So I want to challenge you to think about right now, what's a job you could do right now that matches your interests, values, and skills? What's a job you could do right now with a work environment that you'll enjoy that will point you towards your future job? So on page 66, there is a place for you to brainstorm what kind of entry-level jobs or internships do you think might point you towards your future career. I'll be quiet for a second, but you can always pause it so you have time to write in your notes. All right, now I want you to flip over to page 67, and you'll see a place to write down what ideas do you have about how or where you could find a job. So go ahead and pause this and write down as many ideas as you have. Where or how could you find a job? So I'm going to go ahead and summarize some of the ideas I've heard students volunteer in the past. Students have talked about go online and search through a career database like Monster or Indeed or Career Builder. They've talked about looking at places and see if they're hiring. They've talked about talking to friends and family and see if anybody knows anyone who's hiring. So all of these are good ways to find a job. Let's go ahead and talk about the different ways you can find a job. So first of all, I want to point out to you that there are two kinds of job markets. One is the open job market. The open job market is open. It's easy to find. This is the way that you find a job using websites like Monster and Indeed. It's looking in newspapers or online advertisements. It's seeing what's posted on the door. You're competing with everybody for these jobs. Now, there is another portion of the job market that is hidden. So we call that the hidden job market. Up to 80% of jobs are not listed to the public. That means they can be harder to find. Accessing these jobs uses side doors. You are competing with less applicants to find these jobs. So just to give an example, thinking of my own jobs that I've gotten in my life. My job at the frozen yogurt shop, I'd say that was more of an open job market. There was a sign in the window that said now hiring, and so I just asked about the job and went through the interview process. My next job was working as a math tutor. How did I get that job? Well, I got it because my dad was working at a school and they needed someone to be a teaching assistant in a math class. And he said, oh, my daughter is great at math. And they said, okay, well, we need someone tomorrow, so let's hire her. That was never advertised. Just because I lucked out that my dad knew me, I got that job. Then, when I got the job as a substitute teacher, same thing. At this point, it wasn't just him, but I had done a really good job as a teaching assistant. And when summer school came, the math teacher quit like the day before classes were supposed to start. And so they asked me if I would be interested in being a long-term sub and filling in and teaching the class over the summer. I said yes. Was that job ever listed? No, it was never listed. So you can see a lot of jobs are in this hidden job market. So let's look more specifically at front doors for the open job market. You can use those open websites that we've talked about, Monster, Simply Hired, Indeed, etc. You can create a profile on there. You can submit resumes, look for job openings. Another way to do it is to actually go to an employer's website to look for job listings. Like if you wanted to work at Disney, you could go to Disney's website and see if they're hiring anybody. You could look in newspapers. That's pretty old school. I don't even know if many people are listing in newspapers, so I would actually say, meh, forget that one. Another really good one is public career fairs. So that's where you go, and a whole bunch of employers are in the same place, and they each have a table, and you can go and talk to a whole bunch of companies at the same time. You can also join LinkedIn, so your resume is clear to prospective employers, and you can identify your network. So these are all good ways to access the open job market. And it's not bad to go through the open job market. For my job as a counselor here at Mount SAC, it's a government-funded job because Mount SAC is a public school. They are required to post it so everyone can see it and everyone has a chance to get this job. So you might find the front door does help. It just also means you might be competing against more people. Now, we actually have some special doors that are just available to Mount SAC students and alumni, and you can access these through career services. So what are the options that we have? Well, we have ways that you can actually work on campus. One way is through work study. So when you apply for the FAFSA, you might see on there that you qualified for work study. Work study means that the government is willing to give Mount SAC a certain amount of money to hire students so that they can earn money while they're in school. So that's one really great way. And you can get jobs all over campus in different departments through work study. We also have just regular on-campus jobs. They are for students, but you don't have to qualify for work study to get one of those jobs. And then we have something called the SEED program, the Student Support Employment and Education Development Program. And it's very similar to work study in that it's a specific program that has specific funding. But this program is interesting because it's really designed to help students get their first job, and they go through workshops and trainings to help them be a good employee. And it's a really fantastic option if you qualify. So those are 3 possibilities for on-campus. Next, we have Mountie Career Source. This is an online database of jobs and internships both on and off campus, where employers are specifically reaching out to Mount SAC students. So we also have information on job events and career fairs and all kinds of great stuff. So you can definitely check that out. And then one more thing is we do have on-campus career fairs. And we even had a Zoom version due to the pandemic. But we have career fairs that we organize where you're able to meet with a whole bunch of different employers all at once, and that tends to be a great way for students to get a job. So those are some special doors. Now, if you're not going to go through the front door, or if you're looking for a job that maybe you're not going to find through one of these Mount SAC doors, how else can you access that potentially 80% of jobs that are never advertised? Well, you can do that through side doors. So there are 4 side doors that we're going to talk about today. One is through spontaneous contact. This is where there's not a job that's posted anywhere. There's no hiring sign. But you just pop in or email or call and say, hey, I think that your company might be a great fit for my skills. And from there, you might be able to find a job. So my getting the job at the camp is an example of spontaneous contact. I ran into people who worked there. We talked. I thought it would be a really great opportunity. They introduced me to their boss, and I got the job. Now, another example of this is my sister. So my sister, she wanted to be a counselor. I had already gone through graduate school, and I was already working as a counselor. And she was now in graduate school. And she wanted to work in colleges. And I told her, listen, you have to have an internship at a college or it's going to be really, really hard for you to get a job. And where I was working, we weren't allowing internships at the time, so she could not internship with anyone at my school. And I told her, just pick up the phone and start calling places. So she picked up the phone. She called one of the Claremont colleges and told them that she was really interested in being an intern and asked if they might allow her to be an intern. She was in her last semester of college for her master's. And they said, how funny that you called. We were just talking about how we need to hire a career counselor. You're almost done with school. Maybe we'll hire you. Do you want us to call you when the job gets listed? And she's like, yeah. And boom, 2 months later, they hired her and she had a job. If she had not done that spontaneous contact, she would never have known. All right, number 2, show, then tell. You want to look for opportunities to show how great you are before they hire you by taking advantage of internships, apprenticeships, short-term jobs. Treat these opportunities as a very long interview where you show them what you have to offer. So I worked as an intern at the first community college I was at. And I remember thinking every day is an interview. You know, I would show up on time, I would be friendly, I would look for ways that I could help. And I got some really great opportunities. I helped market the honors program, which preceded a big growth in numbers, which many attributed to my efforts. And when the time came for a paid position as a part-time ed advisor, I was allowed to apply for the job because I was considered part of the staff, because this was a position where you could only apply if you already worked at the college. But as an intern, even though I was unpaid, I was qualified to apply for that job. I applied for that job, and that was really my first professional job in my field. So showing then telling is really fantastic. Number 3, proactive, credible references. You want to look for people in your network or friends, families, and acquaintances that know you and is trusted by a decision maker at a place you want to work. Talk to your contact and share with them 3 to 6 bullet points about why you would be good for the job, and ask them if they would call the decision maker and recommend you or introduce you. So I've got an example of proactive, credible reference, and it's actually somebody I hired. So after I became a mom and I had a little baby and I was going back to work, I needed someone to watch my baby. And it's kind of scary trying to find someone to take care of your kids, especially when they're so little they can't talk or tell you if something is wrong. But I really wanted a nanny, someone who could be in my house. And a coworker of mine asked me one day, she just said, hey, what are you planning to do after your baby's born? And I said, well, I'm going to try and find a nanny. And she said, you should hire my nanny. She worked for me for 10 years. She was wonderful. And then since then, she's worked for another coworker of ours for 8 years. But that little girl is growing up and won't need a nanny anymore. So this would be a really good time for you to hire this nanny. Now that was a proactive, credible reference. And I thought, wow, I'm sure I can trust this person if 2 of my coworkers have worked with her for a total of like almost 20 years. And so I did, and she was a wonderful, wonderful nanny. So that's an example of proactive, credible reference. And then our last one, customer contact. Look for places where you are a customer and have access to a manager, like a restaurant, gym, stores, etc. Get to know the manager as a customer and share with them your amazing skill, knowledge, attitude before you mention, this seems like a great place to work. I'd love to be on the team. I had a student in one of my classes who shared about how she had gotten a job. She had been going to a skate shop for a long time. She loved to skateboard. If you saw her, you know, she really looks like a skater because she is one. and bought a lot of clothes there and was there all the time hanging out with friends. And one day they were like, hey, would you want to work here? And she was like, yeah. You know, they knew that she already knew the products. She already knew a lot of great information to help clients with, and she was really friendly and fun to be around. So that's an example of getting a job through customer contact. So once you've got your job target, once you found a job you want to apply for, you're going to want to market yourself. And you're going to want a resume, you're going to want a cover letter, and it's really important that you customize and personalize that resume and cover letter to whatever job you're applying for. If you're applying for a restaurant, you're not going to have the same stuff in your cover letter as if you were applying for an after-school program, right? They're going to be looking for different skills and attributes, and you want to make sure you're addressing that in your cover letter and your resume. And you're also going to want to practice interviewing ahead of time so that, and you can wait till you get an interview, but you can also practice generally, but you'll want to practice beforehand. When I was looking for counseling jobs, I used to do at least 2 practice interviews before every one of my real interviews, just to kind of get myself ready to market myself the best way I could. So what does marketing yourself look like? It means preparing to prove that you can do the job. So you want to look at your job target and consider, how could you prove that you can do that job? And we've got 4 ways. And this, of course, is all from the 6 reasons you will get the job. 1 is a demonstration. Show them the quality of your work. If you say you're good at remembering names, show them by remembering the name of each person at the office you're applying at. 2, stories and examples. Paint a picture of yourself doing the job or demonstrating a skill by telling a story in 30 to 90 seconds. Use examples from your life or work experience. Number 3, credible references. Find 3 to 5 people who could be a reference for you. Look for people who the employer trusts, like their personal contacts, or people with good reputations like instructors, civic leaders, previous employers, or coworkers. And then number 4, quantified selling points. You want to come up with 2 to 3 facts that address each of the employer's needs. They should be true, they should include a number, and they should include a time frame. So an example of one of these is when I was working at my first community college. They had an event, a workshop in health careers. So it was like pre-health careers. And the year before I took it over, 3 people went to the workshop. Then they had me take it over, and I did a lot more marketing, and I went around, did class visits, and got people excited about it, and we had 50 people come the first year I did it. Then, the second year that I did it, 120 students came. So you can see, these are facts, they have numbers, they have a time frame. And it shows them, if they want someone who can put together an event and promote it and get people there, my little quantified selling points helps them see that that's the case. So you'll want to look through the job description and come up with, what are ways I could demonstrate this? What are stories that would show this? What's a credible reference? Who could vouch for me? And what are quantified selling points that I could use? And you're going to use these in your resume, your cover letter, and your interview to show the employer they need you. You can do this job. So some traditional quantified selling points would be formal work experience. I have 2 years of experience as a server. Vocational training, I'm a certified phlebotomist. Formal education, I've completed 12 units of early childhood development courses. Testing results, I can type 70 words per minute. So these are traditional, but what if you don't have these? Or what if there is a need the employer has that you can't demonstrate through these? Well, then you might want to look at non-traditional sources like hobbies. Let's say you were looking for a job at Joann's. You might tell them, hey, since I learned to sew 2 years ago, I've sewn 10 quilts. Here's a photo of my work. Well, if they are wanting to sell to quilters, right, the fact that you've done so much sewing, you could be a good person to work in their store. You could use volunteer experience. Let's say that you want to work at a nursing home or retirement home. You could tell them, I visited an elderly gentleman twice a week as part of his retirement community's Adopt a Grandparent program. So again, it has to be true. So these are just examples. Let's say you were part of a college club. So in this example, the student could say, I've organized 3 fundraisers for my club that earned a total of $4,000. Or you might have natural abilities. Maybe you want to get a job as a dog walker, or you want to work at a dog groomer or a pet shop. You could tell them, I get along really well with animals. They seem to instantly connect with me. You could also just use daily life. Here is one that's true for me. Actually, I have 4 younger siblings, and I tutored all of them in math. That might help you get a job in a tutoring center or as a teaching assistant in a math class. Now, one of the things I love about the book, The 6 Reasons You Will Get the Job, is that they did research and they looked at, from the employer's point of view, what are the employers looking for? And they came up with these 6 themes that showed up in their research from employers. One is presentation, and that's your image. Does the way you look, sound, and act positively represent the company? So I gave you that example earlier about the student who got hired in a skateboard shop. Do you think she would wear the same clothes if she got a job in a law firm? No, probably not. In a law firm, they would want her to wear formal clothes. So you want to match the company. If you're at Target, you want to wear a red shirt, right? So you want to make sure that the way you look, where you present yourself, how you dress, matches the way the company wants to present themselves. Number 2 is attitude. And there we're really looking at personality. Do I want to work with you? Do you fit the company culture? And this is a funny one because there have been times I like the way I am. I just want to tell you that. I like the way I am. I know I can be a little annoying and I know I can have a little bit too much energy for people, but I like my personality. However, there are some people that wouldn't want to work with me because I'm just a little too perky and energetic. So if I walked into a work culture where everybody is much more solemn or serious, we may not click. So I might want to find a work environment where I can be my natural self and feel really comfortable. So you might want to look at, what does the company culture look like, personality-wise, attitude-wise? Is it a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for them? Number 3, dependability and trust. Will you work in my company's best interests? Especially with so many people working from home these days, employers more and more frequently need to be able to trust their employees to do the right thing for the company, even when no one is watching or closely supervising them. They want to know that they can trust you. Number 4, motivation. Do your actions and goals promote my company and its goals? So they want to know that you are going to support the company and their goals. And for this one, it can be good to look up, what is the purpose statement or the mission statement of the company? Do you match that? Do your goals overlap with their goals? If so, that's something that you would want to make clear. Next, we have ability. Can you do the job or learn it quickly? That one is more to the point, right? Can you do it? Do you have the skills? If you're getting a job as an editor, do you know how to edit things? Can you learn it quickly? And then the last one is network or contacts. Do the people you know and attract benefit my company? And here I'm going to go back to that student example again. When they were hiring her to work in the skateboard shop, they probably had a pretty good idea that she was going to have friends that would want to come and shop at that place as well, that she would have a network that matches that. So there you go. You want to use the Padman, and you want to use the quantified selling points and all the other tips we've talked about to prove that you can do the job. And we can help you in career services, and we're going to do mock interviews actually in this class. So this is from the book, 6 Reasons You Will Get the Job. If you have any questions, you can always email me.